guys, Judy here. Welcome to Digital Outlook. Today we have an awesome guest, Mickle. And I know most of you on our channel follow Mickle. You've told us that you do, and we're so excited to have him on our show. Mickle, I want to welcome you to Digital Outlook.
No, super excited to be here. This has been a long time in the making, so glad I can finally be here and talk with you, and super excited to talk about all things XRP and everything going on. It's a really exciting time.
It is, it is. And I know we've met up at a lot of different events and we've connected, and you're just like such a great person personally, and your channel is just exploding. And I'm so proud of you and what you're doing there. And I just want to tell my community, if you are watching Mickle and you haven't subscribed, hit the like and subscribe and join his channel and join ours too. Don't just watch, but hit it. But we're all big family. I've talked about that before, how we're not in competition with each other. We're all part of a big family. Wouldn't you agree that
Oh,
we're,
absolutely. And it's been a
yeah.
pleasure to get to meet you and David over the years. I mean, it's been so nice to go to these events, get to meet in person. It's just so special to be part of a community who's all looking to grow together. And yeah, absolutely no competition. I always tell people the goal is just to get more people involved in crypto. And
Yes.
whenever I talk with people, they watch all these channels, right? They don't watch one channel. So it's all about just growing the ecosystem, and being able to do it alongside great people like yourselves has just been incredible.
Oh, thanks. And I know we all want to take everyone with us to become successful and make a better life for ourselves. So I think yesterday we'll start off with the inauguration. Yesterday was a pretty big deal for all of us, and we had a lot of high hopes about Trump hopefully writing or making an executive order about crypto or saying something about XRP or something, and he didn't. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts, Mikkel, about where do you see it going, even though he didn't on day one, within his first 15 minutes in office, he did not mention digital assets. But where do you see this going in the future?
It's nice. It's the first time I've really felt in crypto where there's like clarity that we're on the
Mhm.
right path. That's just so reassuring to me to know finally it seems like everything's coming together. I know a lot
Mhm.
of people wanted a day one executive order. I don't think people are going to have to wait too long in order to start seeing some really important things take place. It's really
Mhm.
important to realize for the whole cryptocurrency thing, like there are a lot of discussions that still need to happen or happen in the background. We just got a new CFTC chair who has obviously been involved with Ripple before in the past. To
Mhm.
the new SEC chair is obviously extremely pro crypto. And this is just one of those things where there's going to have to be discussions between agencies, between the president, and kind of how everything's going to be structured. So I think it's just one of those things you kind of want to have. It's not like renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, right? There's not that much back end that really needs to take place there. You kind of hit the ground running. Some of this
Right.
other stuff has to be a little more precise and intricate, and I fully welcome this being very well thought out and very well structured from the start. So for me, it's just an indication that it's going to be the first time ever where this industry, rather than being under siege from the regulators are opening the door to this industry. And
Mhm.
just today, I saw a note from Bank of America saying that as soon as crypto payments can go live, they're looking to jump in. And I don't think that's going to be a one off with Bank of America. I think that's going to be a real national effort as well as a global effort. And I just think the United States leaning into, at minimum, not trying to bankrupt and destroy the industry, but what I
Mhm.
believe is going to happen is leaning into it and really growing it. I mean, there's a lot of really exciting stuff happening throughout the entire next 4 years.
That's awesome. I agree with you, David, and I do too. We are very excited for what's to come, but yet, I'm sure you're on your channel, you see the comments. Everyone was so disappointed, and they don't need to be because good things are coming. When do you think that Bank of America, I saw that this morning as well. When do you think the banks are going to start adopting and kind of going forward with it? I heard March, but I didn't know if that was just rumor or if that's like a concrete date or something.
You need a couple key things to happen. So you need SAB 121 essentially repealed. That's going to be a big thing in getting this over the finish line for the viewers who don't know about that. Essentially, it's some internal note that says banks can't
Mhm.
hold cryptocurrency. It's a lot more intricate than that, but that's a
Mhm.
big thing, kind of barring progress on that front right now. There's a couple other things. They just need clarity in saying like, how
Mhm.
do we like report these things on our balance sheet? How do we like
Mhm.
do this in a structured way where we're not violating any kind of KYC or stuff like that. So these are just
Right.
things that need to be hashed out on the back end. Don't get me wrong, they are extremely easy to solve, very easy to solve. But for the longest time, we were in a place where they were purposely making it unsolvable.
Hmm.
So the second you have these banks able to work cooperatively with the
Hmm.
government and say, hey, this is what we're thinking. What do you think about this? And they come back and say, oh, we need this, this, and this. As long as you have those discussions, things can progress pretty rapidly here. So it's all about like what I talked about earlier, the administration leaning into making this happen. And I think as soon as we start to get some clarity and some pullback on some of the rules that were barring a lot of this from happening, you're going to see
Hmm.
it start to build up pretty quickly. So I don't know if I have necessarily a definite timeline, but we'll see how quickly things start rolling out in terms of getting some of this stuff fixed up on the back end. I think we'll likely see the new SEC and CFTC get situated, maybe like a month or two of working on that front. We'll have some clear orders on where each agency sits. We'll have some regulation passed through Congress, and all of that stuff is
Hmm.
going to build up to all of these institutions leaning in pretty heavily.
Yeah, that's good. I saw John Deaton this morning had talked about that hopefully the case will be dropped against Ripple. Are you feeling pretty confident as well that that's going to be
I
taken care of now that Gary's gone?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of like a technical nuance thing here. I'm actually very much hoping the case isn't dropped. I really want it to be
Mm.
settled. Um,
Yes.
I was putting this analogy out there this morning. It's almost like you've been like studying all year for an exam, and then you need like an A on that exam to get your grade up in the class, and then like right before you're about to take the exam gets canceled, and you're kind of sitting there. And it's like, oh well, I don't have to take the exam anymore, but I did all this hard work because it's going to be important in the future. There's
Right.
a lot of really big wins in this case for Ripple. And I think the best thing moving forward would be if the case was settled so that Ripple can actually get specific clarity from the
Yeah.
SEC on some of these things that they want to do in the United States. And if it gets dismissed, you can get these things done on an ad hoc basis or through
Right.
Congress. But it would be nice to kind of leverage all of what we have already built up. So I
Mhm.
do think the case will be dismissed or settled. I think either way, that's a tremendous win. I would just prefer if it was settled and Ripple could kind of have a checklist from the SEC.
Right.
Hey, in order to run this product, we need to tell you about what we're doing here. We should register this sale versus this sale
Mm.
we're not doing. So that kind of clarity would be incredible. And I always like to highlight this one note. Even if Ripple wants to go sell XRP to say another institution and that is a securities transaction, there's
Mhm.
absolutely nothing wrong with that. It happens all the time in the United States market. It's just a disclosure you make to the SEC and everyone goes on their day. You could do it in less than 24 hours and boom, everything's compliant. So this
Yeah.
has nothing to do with not wanting to work with the SEC. It just
Mhm.
has to do with the SEC actually giving Ripple the tools to be able to do this stuff where it actually makes sense and is being used to foster adoption and promote the XRP ecosystem rather than doing it to try to stifle it and shut everything down. So I think all of that will start taking place. I believe there probably will be a settlement rather than the case being dropped. And I think that's going to give a lot of clarity for Ripple in order to go to some of these banking institutions and say, hey, the SEC already said we're good to do X, Y, and Z. And they'll be able to say, okay, well, that's been approved via a settlement. We're good to go.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So the big $1 million question is, and I know people want to know, everyone's opinion on it, but where do you see the price going? Like, do you feel like right now it's just kind of consolidating and it's because it's just kind of bouncing, kind of like a little heartbeat? Or do you see it like just bouncing like in previous years and then just going vertical? And what
Well,
would your price prediction or what are you looking at? What do you like think, not financial advice, but what do you see it going or maybe the next
Well, I,
move?
I think the big thing for me is like XRP's been suppressed for a long time in the market.
Mhm.
I don't know why XRP moves the way it does. It's very unique. I think anyone can see that looking at a chart. It just has a
Yeah.
very different way of moving than anything
Yeah.
else in crypto. I don't necessarily know why that's the case. It's one of the few things I've never really gotten a good answer to. I've even seen people like David Schwartz comment on it before, and it just
Yeah.
seems to be some
How it
kind of a
is.
mystery. Who knows why? I mean, in my opinion, if you look at where Bitcoin is in comparison to its all-time high, and look at where XRP is in comparison to its all-time high,
Yeah.
you can see that XRP is still lagging the market a bit in
Mhm.
terms of being undervalued in comparison to something like Bitcoin on a relative scale. I personally think XRP very easily catches up to kind of those same metrics of if
Mhm.
Bitcoin's 200% past its previous all-time high. I don't see any reason XRP couldn't easily get to that point. And I think the more fun question is what happens when a lot of this institutional adoption does start happening and these institutions do start
Mm-hmm.
leaning in. Um, I'll leave the audience with this. You can go look at the spot volumes coming into XRP right now. They're minuscule in comparison to what can happen on a global adoption basis. And some of these very, very small amounts of value coming into XRP have caused the price of XRP to go up dollars at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start looking at billions of dollars of inflow, I think you're likely going to see a lot of volatility to the upside for XRP. And I think I'll leave it at that for now.
Safe answer. That's good, Mickle. That's good. What do you think about the future of the ETF and like maybe BlackRock
Oh yeah, I did.
applying for it?
There's a
Where,
couple.
when do you think that might happen? Just ballpark.
I would say probably in the second half of the year. We'll see how quickly things progress. Um, we gotta it's gonna first there's gonna have to be a big cleanup at the SEC before anything kind of moves forward in
Mm-hmm.
terms of an ETF or anything like that. Like it needs to be the new orders need to go through, things need to be cleaned up. Like, but once that happens, I don't think anything would stop this thing from being approved very quickly. So maybe like right in the middle of the summer, somewhere around that, you could probably see something like this really start getting approved. Maybe a lot sooner. We'll see how quickly they move. But what it's going to do is two really important things. It's going to legitimize XRP among
Mm-hmm.
institutions. It's going to be a massive marketing event in terms of that thing going live. All of these people who've never known about XRP or thought, oh, I don't want to go onto some crypto exchange to buy it, will be able to buy XRP
Mm-hmm.
directly through their traditional brokerage account, which will be huge. Personally, I definitely advocate for under owning the underlying token, but for some people, like that's just not really feasible, or they don't want to go through it. So it's still great to have options for those people to get an allocation to something like XRP. And
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is like we saw how much volume came into that Bitcoin spot ETF. It was billions of dollars. Like I
Mm-hmm.
talked about earlier, right now XRP is doing dollar movements based off of $40 million of inflows, $50 million worth of inflows. So what happens? I think JP Morgan projected this. If we have something like 8 billion coming into XRP in less than a 12-month time period, I mean, you're looking at a lot of positive inflows coming into XRP that are traditionally from very kind of long-term holders. So I just think it provides a new great way for people to get access to XRP. I think it's a great marketing event for XRP. I think institutions
Mm-hmm.
look at it as legitimizing the asset because it has kind of gone through this ETF process. And I think all of these things are just very important for XRP moving forward.
And do you think that once, I know in the previous bull cycles, XRP, all the other altcoins went up, and XRP was kind of the laggard, and then at the last minute, it surpassed everything. Do you feel like this time maybe XRP is leading the charge after Bitcoin, and then the rest of the alts will go up?
Yeah, it's a good question because right now XRP has kind of been a leader, and this is one of the
I know
things
it's so weird.
yeah, this is one of the things I kind of warn people about because I know a lot of people had these strategies like, oh, I'll just do what happened before in the past, where I'll buy all these other coins and then flip them into
Hmm.
XRP and XRP goes up. I think it's really important for people to realize like crypto is new. Like these market cycles are
Yeah.
very fresh, and to try to go back and predict that the same thing's just going to happen every single time and it's
Hmm.
going to be like clockwork, like oh, you just go follow this 4 year cycle and you sell the top and buy
Yeah.
the bottom. Like things are going to change. Like that's how markets
Yeah.
work. You
Hmm.
can't have something that everyone knows or people do the opposite and then it messes up the entire cycle. So I think what you're going to continue to see, especially with this new narrative of like an American cryptocurrency, XRP being listed as the top American cryptocurrency, you're just going to see people valuing different things. There used to be a ton of value in like privacy tokens and
Hmm.
obfuscating your identity. And we've really seen that become a use case, but not necessarily that killer use case that a lot of people were thinking it was going to be. And we see a
Right.
lot of lean in from institutional adoption. So I think whatever that primary narrative is at the time is kind of going to lead what leads the cycle. It's where all the dollars are going to be focused. And I just think right now what you're seeing is companies like Ripple are really leaning into this institutional adoption in the United States, this American cryptocurrency kind of stuff, these big news catalyst things like ETFs, IPOs, and all of
Hmm.
these things are just going to create that news cycle for XRP that I believe will make it continue to be a leader. But one of the things I always stress is like, look, going back and looking at price charts before in the past is great. You learn a lot of information. You can see how price reacted to different things. But to
Mm,
just be able to think you could just copy and paste and think that same thing is going to happen
yeah.
over and over again. I mean, I've personally never seen a time in history where any freely traded asset has done something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too, because I mean, what do they say? It's not identical, but it rhymes, or there's some kind of saying like that, that like the charts, they rhyme. So you can kind of get an idea, but it's not
Yeah,
hard
like
and fast.
XRP's volatility hasn't changed. It remains this hyper volatile asset that goes on these crazy
Hmm.
pumps. That hasn't changed. But in terms of like whether or not that means that Ave is going to pump like exactly 60 days before, like all of that kind of stuff is a little
Yeah.
bit too into the weeds and
Hmm.
doesn't take into account some of the massive shifts we're watching on the back end in terms of the actual adoption of each individual protocol.
Hmm. And I just wanted to throw in about XLM a little bit. Are you diversified in other things, or are you like a maxi?
It's funny. I kind of identify more and more as a bit of XRP Maxi. I am
Okay.
diversified across a couple different things. I will say the vast majority of that, I believe, is kind of just early on, not really understanding a lot of these things as well as I do
Mhm.
now. I would say in terms of specific things, it's like XRP and then space, and then there's some other things that I'm definitely interested in. Um, I have to say, it just doesn't seem like for me a lot of things are that close of reaching that mass adoption scale as Ripple
Mhm.
is with XRP. There's just so many catalysts there, and Ripple's so well funded, and they have so many important partnerships. It's
Yeah.
like there's other things that are very interesting to me, and I think that could kind of get to that place where Ripple is right now. But I really do look at it as Ripple and really having like a very big head start on everything else out there.
Mhm.
So I'm constantly paying attention to different developments out there, but I look at it a bit like now is like every dollar I have somewhere else is another dollar I can't have in XRP. And for me, that's just not something at the current time period where I've really
Mhm.
seen anything that's really got me as excited as what's still being built out here. And I
Yeah.
still think we're in the pregame warm up for XRP. I don't even think we've really got to the first inning.
Mhm.
So with that much of a runway left, it's one of the reasons why I primarily focus mostly on XRP.
Oh, that's good. I know I wanted to ask you, have you taken any profits at all, like during this previous pump? Because I know you were in it way back when we were too. And so, we're up, obviously, so are you. But have you like been able to take anything or go on a trip or do anything fun just to kind of reward yourself, or you're just holding tight?
That's what a normal person would do. It's really not why I'm here, to be completely honest with you. Like most people who know me well know that I own a lot of different investments in the equity markets, other small cryptocurrencies here and there, private equity and stuff. And for me, it's just like if I was going to take profits from anything, like there's just so many things in front of what I would be taking profits from rather than XRP.
Right.
I've been lucky enough to be very early on in things like Nvidia. I think I was investing in that in like 2016, 2017.
Nice.
Tesla kind of in that same time period. Like there's just a lot of stuff where for me it's like I'm super excited about Nvidia, what they're doing with AI and like what Tesla's doing, but like I'm more excited about XRP.
Yeah.
And like I just have so many other things where if I ever needed that money, I would pull from there instead. And
Mhm.
XRP has always been something for me where it's like I'm kind of here to see the entire thing play out. Like, I'm here to see that mass institutional adoption. I'm here to
Mhm.
watch this thing until the eighth or ninth inning. I just don't have a whole lot of interest in having really cash from my XRP or converting any of that.
Mhm.
I kind of have enough cash on the side to be able to do what I want in terms of being able to finance anything I want to do in my own personal life. And because
Good.
of that, I've just never really had a desire to convert any of that XRP to fiat dollars. That I imagine that changes at a certain price XRP. A lifestyle upgrade would be great, but for me, all those material things aren't really that important to me. It's really I'm kind of here for the long term vision, building into space, and XRP for me is like I'm gonna hold it until really I can just leverage it and use the value from the XRP to do the things I want
Mhm.
to do. And I just kind of want to retain as much access to that token as possible.
So you're not buying a Lambo anytime soon.
No, 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 Lambo. No, if you, it's so funny. Joe, I used to do live streams in my car back in the day when I was still working at my
I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah.
working at my previous job, and
Yeah.
I still drive that same car. For me, it's like those kinds of things just aren't that interesting to me, right? Like
So
I
you're
want to have
waiting. Yeah.
as many different assets as possible, build
Hmm.
my foundation and all of these things. And for me, it's like I plan on looking back 10 years from now and being like, wow, like those were some smart decisions I made. Not the things I bought, not the things I flipped in. Like those things go away and it's
Yeah.
just doesn't really pique my interest.
So delayed gratification, there's something to that.
Yeah, no, hey, delayed gratification, but for me it's just there's gratification through the entire thing. Like for something like
Right.
XRP, some people always be like, "Oh, you got to realize profits. You don't win until you sell." There is a certain level of truth to that, but like I always bring up the example of like Apple stock or Amazon. I mean, these are things that were foundational companies to
Mm-hmm.
the entire internet. And I always ask people, when was the right time to sell Amazon or when was the right time to sell Apple? And yeah, you could go pick like a little point on the chart where it dropped a little bit and you tried to flip back and forth. But for the vast majority of people, like the answer was just there wasn't a good time. Like anytime you sold,
Hmm.
you missed out on more profits to the upside. So
Right.
you need the investment to play out. You need that deep utility, bringing that thesis forward in order for that to work. Clearly, if Amazon had all kinds of financial troubles and their product didn't work out, it wouldn't have given the returns it has. But I mean, that's what I really try to do with my portfolio. I try to find things like that. I can sit back and relax, let the teams do the work, and I get a benefit from the upside. And my overall goal is I never really want to be in a position where I feel like I need to sell XRP because for me,
Hmm.
that's either me thinking, oh, well, this thing has kind of run its course and maybe there's something else I want to reallocate some money to, or it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, maybe this thesis isn't what I thought it was going to be. But for me, it's
Hmm.
like, actually the opposite happens every single day. I become more and more convicted and kind of gets to the point where it's like, I'm really not interested in dumping any of this right
Focused.
now. Yeah, exactly.
Laser eyes are focused.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
wanted I want you to talk just a little bit briefly about you mentioned about leveraging your XRP. What does that look like? Like, can you explain that? Because I know people have asked, like, oh, I'm going to hold my XRP and then I'm going to either borrow against it or leverage it or do something, and then I'll get dividends from it, or they're not really sure what that looks like. Can you explain that a little bit? Like what that means? Like
Yeah,
if you're holding your XRP, yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of opportunities in the future to be able to essentially use your XRP to generate additional kind of returns on that.
Hmm.
Um, what likely is going to happen in the future, and it's already happening right now, is you'll be able to retain access to your XRP, hold all your XRP, but be able to do different things in the market to get some additional forms of return without actually having to sell it. And I'll just give a very basic example of it now. Say you had a company that was looking to take out a loan or get some XRP, but didn't want to go purchase it off the spot market. A lot of times it can be much cheaper for that company rather than having to go out and purchase XRP for the spot price just to pay you an interest rate to let you use your XRP for a little bit. So I think there's going to be all kinds of opportunities like that. That's what the wealthiest people on earth really do with their
Hmm.
assets. They're in different kinds of lending programs. They're able to lend out different equities and securities and get a return on those things. They borrow against their assets. So having that value kind of locked up there, they're able to get a loan against it and go be able to use that money that they get for taking out that loan to go finance whatever they need to do. And they can do that without selling the XRP. So in that case,
That's
say
good.
you have two people. One person says, I'm going to sell all my XRP and go start up this business, right? Say in that time period, XRP doubled in price. Well, essentially, you put yourself in a position where you lost out on all that price appreciation. You probably
Right.
had a tax implication for liquidating that position. And then you're sitting there with no XRP and you have this business. But another person might say, is I have an income coming in. I can pay off any kind of interest that I would take out in terms of a loan. I can just get some value to start up this business, have the business pay off the loan, and be able to be sitting on my entire XRP bag. That way, if XRP was to go up or double from where it is, you're still exposed to that price appreciation. You didn't have to take out any kind, or you didn't realize any kind of tax event from being able to take that loan. And now you're sitting on funding your business and still retaining the XRP. So
Hmm.
I mean that's
That's
what the
good.
ultra wealthy do. That's why Elon Musk is able to go purchase something like Twitter without actually having to go dump a bunch of Tesla stock on the market, right? There's these more advanced options available, and the more XRP goes up in price, the more we kind of need financial products like that where we can leverage the XRP without saying, "Oh, I have to dump this to go start this next thing in my life."
And is there risk to that? Like if XRP, if you did that and then XRP, you know how it's a cycle, if it dipped down,
Yep.
is there like a problem with that or,
Oh
a
yeah,
danger with that?
there's always risk associated with anything like
Hmm.
being able to use your XRP and do these different things. That's where it's just really important to really make sure what you know what you're doing or work with professionals on something like that. It can be extremely, extremely low risk when it comes to actually having these things structured properly. They like and things are put in the right place. Obviously, I would never tell anyone to go do it on 100% of their XRP position. But
Right,
if you
right,
do it on
right.
10% of your XRP position, you have a lot of leeway in that other 99% to make sure everything is properly collateralized and significant room to be able to structure things properly. So it's one of those things you just always really, and this goes with anything in life, you want to know what you're getting yourself into prior to walking into it. But I
Right.
think what's likely going to happen is there's going to be a lot easier ways for people to actually get help on some of this stuff, a lot better ways for people to be able to really see everything all right in front of them in one place so they can monitor these things a little more actively. And
Hmm.
those are just places the space needs to mature. And once you do have a bit of maturity there, and once you do have better resources for people to access, I think a lot of those worries are significantly diminished.
That's good. That's good. That's good, Mickle. Speaking of investments in different things, I don't know if our community, I know yours does, that you are actively involved in digital wealth partners. Can you explain what that is and how our community might be able to benefit from that? And explain what
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
and what's going on there.
Yeah, so it's definitely been under wraps for a bit. I think it's just starting to get out there a bit more.
Your
We
best
had a
kept
pretty
secret. Your
yeah,
best kept
we had a
secret.
pretty
We're blowing
interesting
it here on Digital Outlook. Okay, guys, listen up.
no, we did something the other day where we actually facilitated the first seven-figure loan for XRP.
Wow.
Essentially what we're doing is we're working with institutional participants to build out opportunities for people who are looking to say, hey, this XRP stuff is really interesting, but I have no interest in going and figuring out how to run my own automated market maker strategy. Or, wow, I have so much XRP, but I hate holding it on this little device that now I have hidden in my house. And I feel like that's a security risk because someone could show
Right.
up to my house and do something like that. So
Oh, yeah.
we work with institutional custodians here in the United States, and then we also have opportunities for people to essentially be able to invest their XRP in different things to produce an outside return, essentially professionally managed. I call it centralized DeFi opportunities, right? Putting a professional team in place to be able to run some of this stuff so you don't have to. Just so the audience is aware, right now it's really you need more than 100,000 XRP to really get involved with some of the stuff we're doing.
Good.
It's the very early stages. We plan on bringing down a lot of these bars later down the road. But yeah, for anyone who feels like they kind of fall into that category, they have a ton of XRP. They really don't feel comfortable with the current custody solutions they're experiencing. They feel like, wow, I feel like there's opportunities in the market, but I don't know how to pursue them. I don't have the technical expertise to trust myself really diving into that stuff. That's the
Mhm.
typical client that I normally say is a really good fit. It's not the person who's really interested in doing everything on their own. It's not the person who's really looking to get involved in like XRP meme coins or NFTs. It's really the people who want to kind of sit back, look to get professional solutions on their assets. And then we would love to have a conversation if you feel like you fall into that category. If you do have more than 100,000 XRP and you do feel like this is something that could be an opportunity for you, digitalwealthpartners.net. You can look it up. You'll be able to get a consultation booked, talk with some of our advisors, and just see if you're a good fit, right? It's really about
That's good.
letting you know what it is, figuring out what
Mhm.
those opportunities are, what it looks like for you involved, and making sure that this is strategically aligned with your long-term journey. It's one of the things I always try to tell people. There's going to be a product out there for every single thing you're looking to do, but each of those products is going to have its benefits and trade-offs, and you just want to make sure that you align yourself with what your long-term goals are and be able to
Mhm.
partner with and build in solutions that are going to help you get to those goals.
That's good. That's really good, Mickle. And what about Anchorage? Like people have asked us about Anchorage. Can you just briefly talk about Anchorage and what the benefits would be? Because I know people think, not my keys, not my crypto. Why would I give it to a custodian to hold for me?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Anchorage is the first institutional custodian we're working with. We're obviously looking for opportunities to bring in more institutional custodians as well.
Mhm.
It's a very new space. Anchorage is the only federally chartered banking institution that can hold cryptocurrencies. So that puts them a couple tiers above everyone else in terms of the
Mhm.
regulations and security. That's the reason why we work with Anchorage right now as one of our institutional
Mhm.
custodians, but very excited to hopefully get more onboarded in the future. I think a lot of people know another big custodian in the space that leans heavily into XRP. So hopefully we'll be able to get a couple more licenses in place going through this year, get a little more clarity on some of that, and be able to onboard them as well. But the big reason we work with Anchorage is because they allow you to still be the legal owner of those cryptocurrency assets. So you are
Oh,
still
okay.
the legal owner of those assets. They just pull away all the security and all those kinds of things, all the technical know-hows away from the end client. So the big thing is that's very different from like something like Coinbase. Is when you go to Coinbase, you sign over, you sign a document that essentially says, okay, if anything happens to Coinbase, these are assets, these are our assets, not yours. And a lot of people know that because when you send a transaction to Coinbase, you get a destination, you have to put a destination tag, which pretty much means you have ownership of a subset of Coinbase's pool of XRP. Um,
Mm.
with Anchorage, you get a separated, segregated vault on the platform. You're sitting in your own vault there where your assets are your assets. They don't touch other people's assets. Those assets are bankruptcy protected, as well as there's insurance policies on
Oh, good.
assets there as
Mhm.
well. So it's really just a way of creating a more professional solution, a more bank style solution around holding your digital assets, where of course you retain that legal ownership. And the last note I'll say on this is there's a reason why when BlackRock it was spinning up their ETF and all these other ETF providers, there's a reason why they didn't just go and get a ledger and say, okay, like we're good, like we have our keys.
Mhm.
Like there is a lot of things on the back end that creates different security vulnerabilities with stuff like a ledger that isn't necessarily Ledger's fault. But if you're using a computer, if you have a virus that you don't know about and you go and plug in your ledger to go do some transactions, like there are things there that I don't think a lot of people are fully aware of. And the
Mhm.
term not your keys, not your crypto is great.
Yeah.
Being your own bank is great. But it's also important to realize that banks have teams of 4,000 people who are constantly watching different security threats, monitoring different things in the market, constantly scanning systems for malware and stuff like that. And that's one of
Mhm.
those things where like your average person just really doesn't do that. They don't really know what they have to do. There's no good
Right.
education really around that. So it's just taking a lot of those more complex things, pulling them away from the actual user,
Mhm.
letting a professional company manage those kinds of things while still giving you the legal right, of course, to the cryptocurrency assets.
And you can buy and sell through that as well.
Yes.
I take it right.
Retail clients, they would have to go through some kind of advisor in order to do the actual buying and selling. Obviously, you could always withdraw, get in and out whenever you wanted to do that, but it really is mostly focused on, hey, I have a bunch of XRP. Say you have 200,000 XRP. You're like, I just want to park this. I want to be able to have this XRP work for me. This is very, very long-term nature. We have some people who will take, let's say 80% of their XRP, throw it in this, and say they take that other 20% and say, oh, I just want to play around with this on the side, right? That's one of
Mhm.
those things where I always tell people, like, align yourself with a product that meets your long-term goals and make sure each product has its own purpose in what you're doing. This is really like the set and forget bank grade security. You throw it in there, you forget about it, and you're able to make sure that's protected for the long run with an institutional sense of security, right? Just a lot
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
different things on the back end monitoring all of this. And like I said, there's trade-offs, right? Like if you wanted to go say buy an XRP meme coin or do something like that, like that's not going to be the thing you're going to want to do in institutional custody. So there's
Right, right.
pros, there's benefits, but I think as long as you're selecting that solution for the right reason, then it's a
Mhm.
massive benefit to a lot of people.
Wow, that's amazing. That was really good explanation because I think a lot of people were not really sure what Anchorage was or what the purpose was. So that's really good. So it seems like it's for more the upper investors then. If you have 1,000 XRP or 10,000, that probably wouldn't be, unless you were young and you were like, I'm going to hold it till I'm 65 or down the road, that would probably not be something someone like my age who's older would want to do, or it doesn't matter the age or the amount
The
of.
age, the age really doesn't matter. I mean, just because of the cost to be able to set up a lot of this stuff. Like I said earlier, you really need more than 100,000 XRP in order
Oh,
to
okay.
be able
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get involved with it. Yeah, it comes back to that same number. I
Okay.
mean, it really just comes down to the fact that there's a lot of costs in order to set up a lot of this stuff on the back end. I mean, this is not
Mm.
like, oh, they just have a ledger on the back end and they're
It's not
holding stuff
free.
on a exactly like you
Okay.
need to make sure you're kind of aligned with kind of that higher level of management. Typically that has more costs associated with it. We need to make
Right.
sure certain legal entities are spun up in order to get all of this done. So there is a lot more to it. But on the backside, there's a lot less to it once you're kind of in that position and you don't have to be constantly worrying. I have clients who were out in California and they had ledgers in their house and like their houses were burning down. And it's just one of those things that people don't think about, right? Like that's one of those scenarios where very quickly you're in a position where like, oh shoot, like I
Uh-oh.
had a massive risk in terms of this device now. And don't get me
Mm.
wrong, there's what you can have multiple, you can hide them around. Like, there's different ways to get around it. But for a lot of people, like it just doesn't make sense to be having to worry about those specific things. And that's
Okay.
where we come in and we just like to offer solutions around that where it kind of pulls away some of that risk and allows it to be professionally managed.
That's good. And my question also I have in closing is digital wealth partners, do they deal with taxes too? Like do you have like a team that can help people as they are preparing to get their taxes done, especially probably next year for this year?
We
Because if some people take profits and they have other altcoins, do you guys deal with taxes as well or have a team that people could
we
contact you?
we have CPAs like we can help recommend to people. We don't actually deal with the actual taxes. Of course, we would pass you any forms that you need in order to work with
Right.
your CPA and have everything that you have institutional in custody reported on. But when it comes to the actual nuance of like filing the taxes, that's not something we do. We're not really a CPA firm. What we really do is focus on getting your assets secure in institutional grade custody, and then
Okay.
providing you opportunities to be able to facilitate some of this higher level stuff that we talked about. Like I said, all this higher level stuff comes with minimums. A lot of the specific opportunities might require you to be something like an accredited investor. Some of the things in terms of getting leverage against your XRP, it really has even higher minimums than that 100K. And that's why I just like to make sure people are well aware of kind of where this product sits in terms of the market, who should be taking advantage of it now. I do anticipate a lot of this stuff comes down with time and we're able to really lower the barrier to get more people involved. But starting
Mhm.
off, there's a lot of things that you really just need to have a pretty sizable position in XRP for these things really to be valuable for you. And it's more about me just making sure that people who are interested are aligned on the back end so they don't sell themselves on something they really won't be able to properly take advantage of. Like you really want to make sure that you're in a position where you might already have a CPA team and we can kind of integrate with them and make sure everything works out there. But it's really focused on providing those solutions for large XRP holders who don't feel comfortable holding on something like a ledger, and also people looking for professionally managed strategies around their XRP.
Yeah, that's good because I know a lot of people think, well, I only have 10,000 XRP or this or that. Well, when clarity comes, that's going to drastically increase. And so don't cut this out thinking, well, I don't own 100,000 XRP right now because it's going to grow and you need to kind of think in the back of your head, what's my strategy? What's my plan? And so that's important to just keep that if you're not a 100,000 XRP holder, but keep this in the back of your head because that's something that could be really important.
And
But
I've had calls with people like that too. And one of the things I tell them is like, just focus on purchasing more XRP. Like you're not
yeah,
necessarily in the position right now where you're not like a and just honestly at holding 10,000 XRP, you don't have the same risk level as someone who holds a million XRP and had Ledger dox their address, right? That's a
Yeah,
whole different risk
exactly.
profile
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there. And it's not to say that that's not going to be a very substantial amount one day, but you could really use a lot of your capital much better just continuing to invest in the space, continuing to find new things you find interesting, focus
Hmm.
on growing those positions. Your dollar still goes a very long way in purchasing more of these assets. Well, if
Right.
you have 100,000 or a million XRP, right? If you throw 5 grand into XRP, it's not going to make a huge difference in terms of what you're holding. So it's just one of those things, right? You
It's a
don't want to,
balance.
yeah, you don't want to go put the security of these assets before even making sure you have enough assets where it's really worth some of these more advanced features in terms of protecting. Um,
Mm.
I always tell people just focus on getting more of that underlying asset, focus on accumulating and trust me, like a lot of this stuff, like there's a lot of legal documents, there's a whole bunch of stuff. It's not like anything like you're missing out on something super fun initially. Like you just focus on growing those assets. And then once you start to have some of those worries about, oh, well, now I have $2 million sitting on this thing in my basement. That's typically when it's like, all right, time to focus on some of these more boring, important things.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Miko, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for your time and sharing so much wonderful insights with us. And it's always a pleasure to get to talk to you, whether it's on camera or off camera. And I'm looking forward to meeting up with you. I'm sure you're going to go to the XRP Vegas.
Oh,
And
absolutely. No, I'll be there. And
yeah, we
no,
will too.
likewise, like I said, this was long overdue. Super
It
excited
was.
to be
We've
able to
talked about
come
this
on here.
forever.
Yeah, no, this really did take forever for us to put together for one reason or another. We're
I
both
know.
extremely busy, but it's always a
Extremely.
pleasure to get to speak with you and David. It's always such a fun
Um,
conversation and definitely looking forward to being able to see you again in person. It's always a blast.
Yes, well, we look forward to it too. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and you have a great one and take care.
Thank you.